Right, hello there everyone, welcome back to James Redmond TV and welcome to another Redmond Roundup. We're going to be talking about a good few things like the Manchester United game, which was dead crap. Manchester City dropping points in it, meaning absolutely nothing. I even want to touch on Arsenal and if we should pay them more respect. And then lastly, the midfield crisis that is at Liverpool, or is the crisis even bigger? All that and more on today's Redmond Roundup. So first of all, I want to try and be positive. That's what the Redmond Roundup is. It's why I've got the goofy music at the start. I just always sit there and think to myself, in these situations when you're in a bad spell, do you be overly negative or do you try and be as realistic as possible? And I obviously go for the latter. Even though the negativity will get more views, I like to go with realistic expectations. And the same goes for optimism. Don't want to be too optimistic, don't want to be too negative. The situation that's at hand is Virgil van Dijk not running at Sancho for the first goal and just standing there like the Statue of Liberty, like there's no tomorrow. For the world's best centre-back, you need to be seeing a lot more. And the thing that I want to emphasise is I am not going to be calling any players' names. It's not the way that I roll. But the way that I roll is, if I'm their manager, if I'm their teammate, if I'm their friend, I'm nailing it into them that you was not good enough in this game. You should have done better. You should have performed better. Not for the fans, not for the manager, but for yourself, more importantly. Couldn't string any passes together in midfield. Weren't great when it came to being around Manchester United's final third. And we let them get in behind our defence so many times to where they had numerous one-on-ones. Alanga, Rashford. The high line clearly weren't working, but it's proven to work before. That doesn't tell me that it's the manager's complete fault right now, even though I think he made a few faulty decisions. But it's very much the players. Trent not being good enough, Van Dijk not being good enough. Joe Gomez was terrible against Manchester United. And again, Joe Gomez is someone who I thought was brilliant against Palace. A really good chance to kick on and improve, but the chance just weren't taken well enough. And it's not just his fault, it's a collective thing. I thought Milner was very, very poor. Jordan Henderson, thought he was average. Harvey Elliott, I thought he was probably one of the brighter sparks. I don't think his performance looked great. But when you consider the fact that he's around a lot more experienced players and he's trying to make things happen, but the people just weren't on his wavelength. And that's why I think some passes looked misplaced, but he had the right idea. He was putting the ball in the right areas. The front three, non-existent, really. I know Salah scored. But otherwise, really nothing to be boasting about. Not even any positives that you can take out of that 2-1. Another thing that stands out to me is the lack of squad depth for this season. Again, it just reminds me of the season when we had the Champions League final against Real Madrid and we're bringing on Adam Lallana to save us. And honestly, don't be surprised to see a season like that again. I think that year we might have finished in the top 4 and we got to the Champions League final. And when Salah went off, we had no hope. And right now, with no Jota or no Nunes, we have no hope. Right now, with no Thiago in midfield or no Naby Keita, we have no hope. And before you know it, we're not going to have probably one of like Joe Gomez or Joe Matip and Kanate are both out at the moment. I think both of them have been putting in considerably better performances than Joe Gomez. And it's a sticky one for Joe Gomez because he is the 4th choice centre-back at the club at the moment. And on top of that as well, he's just signed a new contract. It baffles me and it blows my head off to think that he's going to end up walking into this Liverpool team. I'm not saying he's a crap player, but is he good enough for Liverpool Football Club to be competing for league titles? That's something that I don't think has been quite answered yet and still remains to be seen. There's so many things that's wrong at Liverpool Football Club right now, so many things that I can't even go into on this video, so I'll talk about it a bit more at length another time, I suppose. But fair play to Manchester United, they've done what they needed to do and Liverpool just need to get their act together. Otherwise, if they keep readjusting these performances, I've said this numerous times on multiple different shows, then we are going to have to readjust our expectations as Liverpool fans. That's the way it is. We're looking like we're going under transition. It doesn't look like we're going to have a fucking spending spree like we did when we last failed to win the Champions League, when we brought in Fabinho, we were linked with Nabil Fekir, we brought in Shaqiri, who at the time was an ambitious signing, it improved the squad depth. Now we've got rid of all that squad depth. Right after the case study of last season where we got to all the competitions, like all the way to the very end, with good squad depth. So it seems like we've just missed the memo, and I keep saying it. I feel like Jurgen Klopp's job at Liverpool isn't to be bringing in players and it isn't to be making this squad bigger. Even though I think he could emphasise more, but even after the game yesterday, he's coming out and saying, listen, we've got loads of injuries. But before the game, he's saying we're in a good position. But he has to say that. When really the reality, most likely to me, is FSG have said to him, right, listen, we want you to achieve this, we want you to get this, and we want you to get this. And it involves getting Champions League football. Because people think, like, winning the Premier League and the Champions League is the main thing. The main thing is Premier League money that you get nowadays and Champions League revenue that you get if you get far in the competition, and then the Champions League revenue that you get in finishing top four. Jurgen Klopp has done that on a very minimal budget. So FSG are going to notice, right, he's generating us loads of revenue without us having to spend too much. It's the same as any business model that you've ever seen in your life. Minimalise the outgoings and maximise the incomings. But that's the thing, FSG right now are maximising the outgoings and not maximising the potential incomings that they could be getting, that could be getting them to Premier League titles. But it's because it doesn't suit their financial targets. So this is where we've got to sit here as Liverpool fans and go, right, are we happy being content with top four, not being better than City, and even now seeing teams like Tottenham getting Richarlison for banter, Arsenal getting Gabriel Jesus to immensely improve their squad after signing people like Eddie Nketiah on a new contract and stuff. They've now got much better squad depth, is the point. Manchester United getting Casemiro like an RKO out of nowhere. Manchester City going out and getting the players that they absolutely need, but not letting go too many as well. Man City do very well at maintaining their squad depth. Players like Riyad Mahrez and Bernardo Silva. Players that have been linked away. But because they have other things that can keep them players attracted to stay at Manchester City, winning titles, playing around the best players, earning loads and loads of money, more than probably anywhere else, then that goes to show right there that our model just is not suited to win Premier League titles. It might win you the odd cup, it might win you the odd game, but it's not here to win you trophies season in, season out. That's why Jurgen Klopp is unbelievable. Because he is maximising a very minimalistic ambition. Because realistically, I don't think many managers are getting us to the positions that we're getting with Jurgen Klopp, without Jurgen Klopp at the helm. I really, really don't. And especially underneath this ownership. So it's too far off before Liverpool fans go FSG out and stuff. But I do think it will get to a point, especially when Jurgen Klopp leaves, just the type of owners that we have and the fact that we hit a jackpot with Jurgen Klopp. So let me know your thoughts about the game, your man of the match and stuff like that. If you haven't seen the watch along and you want to see it, absolutely go for it. Now, I just want to briefly touch on Manchester City. Not going to go too much into this topic because it was supposed to be more of a conversation if Manchester United lost against us. But Manchester City drop points against Newcastle. Doesn't really matter. Manchester City do that like twice a season. Like, I'm not being funny or nothing. Aston Villa, they done it. Newcastle, they done it. And they came back in 5 minutes, if anything. I'm surprised they never won the game. Manchester City are in such good stead. They're so well run, and I know they have a lot of money, but they spend that money very fucking wisely. They've got the best. They've got, in my opinion, the best coach with Jurgen Klopp in world football, no doubt, no doubt. In two completely different aspects. Two managers who can completely maximise what they're given, and that's why I really like it, Pep Guardiola, and I like the little battle that he has with Jurgen Klopp. But with the spending power of City and with the quality of how they spend their money, which is the main thing to talk about, we're not going to be able to compete with them, especially this season or any other in the short term. So Manchester City doing what they do best, giving us a little bit of hope and snatching it all away. And the last thing that I want to end this Redmond Roundup with is a lot of Arsenal fans have been getting in contact, messaging me, James, what do you think about me football club? I think he's a sound. I think he's in a very good position. If I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm very excited right now for the future because there's this thing in modern day football, like, oh, we can't give managers time. If they're not succeeding in 3 years, then it's fucking finished. Jurgen Klopp had it when he first joined. He was getting compared to Brendan Rodgers, and we saw what can happen. I'm not saying Mikel Arteta is going to achieve those same heights, but the board are being ambitious. They're going out and getting players. They're getting out and getting young players on long-term contracts, so they're going to be financially set for years. They have so many good assets of players that can go for 50 million, 60 million, 70 million. In terms of the money that Arsenal could generate from their squad, it's probably more money than what we could generate from Liverpool's. Like, we've got Salah who's old, so we'll get quite a bit of money for him if we sold him, but it wouldn't be loads. Van Dijk, same. All of our players are over that age gap where it's like, okay, let's put it around 50, 60 million. Like a Casemiro type price. Arsenal are at a point where they can value Saka at 120 million if anyone really wanted him. They could value Smith Rowe at 40, 50 million. Odegaard at 80 million. Martinelli at 100 million. Gabriel Jesus, if he keeps playing the way he fucking is, probably at about 100 million as well. They're so good for the future, and at the end of the day, they've got a young manager, and Mikel Arteta is the only man who knows what it's like to compete with Jurgen Klopp and work with Pep Guardiola. He knows what it's like to be involved in a squad that can get 100 points in the league. He was the assistant manager for the Centurion season. I know Pep is the head of the group, Mikel Arteta would have still had a huge influence, or best believe he wouldn't have been sitting next to Pep Guardiola. He's got the brain. This is someone who came through Barcelona. He would have been around the best coaches. He's worked under Arsene Wenger, who, yes, it looked like he was doing bad at the end of his Arsenal career, but it turns out he was doing really well with the squad he had. He's worked under some great people, and now he's worked under Pep Guardiola. Just don't be surprised if the fact that this is his first job, he's now, 3 years, third full season at Arsenal? And he's getting them into really, really good positions, and they've started the best season. I think this is the best start they've had since the Invincibles. So the question that I've been asked is, are we going to need to start showing Arsenal respect? The only answer is absolutely yes. They've been absolutely sound in terms of the spending that they've done, the players that they've let go of the right players, and then the manager that they've kept, because they could have sacked him so many times. It seems like, on this one occasion, the board of Arsenal got it right. Usually they don't, but they have on this one. They put out a new plan. They're not buying the Alexis Sanchez's and Ozils, because as good as them two players was, they weren't good enough to win your league titles, and they weren't good enough to win your trophies. So now if you go with a more younger model, where you can attract young players, and not to mention the culture that is being built at Arsenal right now. Look, the centre-back Saliba, who, by the way, I think has got bags of potential. Gabriel, young centre-backs, Ben White. Young players going to look at Arsenal Football Club, remember the Thierry Henry days, see Arsenal winning the odd trophy here and there, finishing top 4 and playing in Champions League, and they're going to want to go there, because they're going to be able to get the wages, and Arsenal will be able to spend the money. But when Arsenal the only question is, and this isn't even a question about Arteta, I think he's actually going to be a sound manager. It's took me some time to convince me, but I think he will be a very, very sound manager. The only question now is when Arsenal take that step from Europa League to getting top 4 consistently, will they then push? Because FSG, when we missed out on the Champions League final, and we lost the Champions League final, we didn't push. Oh, no, sorry, we did push for that season, but then we didn't continue pushing season after season. Once we started getting Champions League year in, year out in Champions League finals, that's when we stopped. Will Edu and will the board of Arsenal do the same? Will Kroenke not invest the money that he needs to invest into Arsenal Football Club? Will Edu not get the business that needs to be done when Arteta's got them to a point where they're financially set? That's what remains to be seen. However, I think he's in a good position, so he should be buzzing. Anyway, that is the end of this Redmond Roundup. If you did enjoy it, then please smash a like. Again, thank you for the support that's on the channel. We hit 62,000 subscribers yesterday, so thank you so much for that as well, and I've loved being back on YouTube. I've been doing a lot of content. I'm trying not to burn myself out, but right now I've just got that buzz. I'm firing, mate, you know what I mean. I might put out a clip from Hot Topics later if you want to see another video on the channel, and yeah, please leave a like if you somehow, for some reason, like me. Subscribe as well, and yeah, I'll see you all later. Peace.